And the business to be discussed first is discuss the dispatch shortage. We have the Honorable John Hurley here that can tell us firsthand about the dispatch. So I guess that's what we'll start with first.
All right. Well, I want to first of all thank you all for letting me come up and discuss this. I am going to have a PowerPoint presentation up here if y'all want to. Y'all are not facing the wrong direction. Yeah. All right. So we've gone through over the last several months and collected a lot of information about what our pay scale, all of that stuff. We're currently 7 people short in dispatch. What that means to the general public is that it takes us longer to answer calls, get calls dispatched, etc., when people need us the most. Part of the reason why that this is the way it is, it's not because of we don't have the positions available, it's because our pay is so low. We are the lowest paid dispatch agency around the area. So that's basically what this is. Right here, this is basically our dispatch center, 2 of our consoles. This is what my dispatchers work with every day. As you can tell, there's 6 monitors up there. 4 of them are for the CAD. Anything that we need to pull up, state systems, whatever. One's a phone system and the other one's a radio system. So this is what they work with on a daily basis to do their job, essentially. From years past, when I started, we didn't have this. We wrote everything down on a piece of paper by hand, and that's the way we kept track of stuff. It has evolved over the last 22 years to this. Everything is done on a computer. You have to enter everything in the computer. Everything is recorded by a computer, all of that. So there has been a huge evolution in the dispatch system itself. So just some of the stuff that I want to go over today is just our job duties, some of the extra duties that we do, the call volume, call radio times, calls by each agency, the training hours that we have, our retention and attrition rates, comparables between all the other agencies around us, and volume of calls versus pay, recommended staffing, proposed solution, and pay proposals. So on this one, in the Texas code, it defines a first responder as an emergency response operator or emergency services dispatcher who provides communication support for an agency by responding to requests for assistance in emergencies. Currently, there are 14 states that recognize 911 dispatchers as first responders, Texas being one of them. June 2019, I believe, is when Texas actually adopted that. There are federal, we're working on federal stuff now. Currently, at the federal level, we are still classified as the administrative and support occupations. It's where we are still at on the federal level. And that's a whole battle that they're still working on. Telecommunicators have not received a step raise in 3 years. However, we have received cost of living and that kind of stuff each year. The reason why I bring this up is because we have telecommunicators, let's say, that's been there for 3 years, but the person that I hire off the street and start training is making the same thing that the people that have been there for 3 years is making. Experience in this profession is everything. That's where people get their training. That's where they learn how to do this job. It's not, you can't send them to a class and have them learn. Everything we do is on the job training. So just a comparison between an actual clerk and a telecommunicator. Administrative clerk positions, probably about a month or so to learn their job. Our telecommunicators are in training for a bare minimum of 4 months. A lot of them as much as 8 months, just to get the basics down. This is a position that you cannot train every situation that is going to occur. Every call is different. Every situation is different. Your administrative clerks, they work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Weekends, holidays, anytime when the roads freeze up, the administrative clerks are off. Dispatchers work a 12-hour shift. They work day shift, night shift. They work weekends. They work holidays. When the roads are icy, they're in there. Even if we have to go pick them up, they're at work. We make sure that everybody's here because emergencies don't wait for anybody. Emergencies occur all the time. Our telecommunicators, they have to go through a state licensing, which is now a 2-week course that they're required to take. They have to have that for TCOL, which is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. That is a requirement that all of our dispatchers have to have in order to work in there. They also do emergency medical dispatch, which is EMD, and that is an additional week-long class. We have to keep CE hours up in both of those, along with state and national databases that we have to keep training up in and everything. So basically, we're responsible for all of the citizens, all of our responders, everybody in general. We have to make sure that we get the correct response to the people when they need us. And so that's one of the jobs. Some of the questions that, kind of pose, there's not anybody in dispatch who's going to answer the calls. We have to have people in there to make those calls, answer those calls. If we don't, people aren't going to get help. That's just, that's a simple bottom line to it. Who's going to get the right people to the scene? There again, that's what we do. And who's going to ensure that there's enough or the correct response going to these? So some of our job duties that we do is we receive emergency and non-emergency calls. It doesn't matter, we don't really know what's going to be on the other end of that line when we pick it up. We can answer the non-emergency line, what we call the admin lines. And I've had some of the worst emergencies I've ever worked on an admin phone call. You'd be surprised. A lot of the 911 calls that we answer is people that really don't have an emergency, but they don't know where else to turn. So they call us. We're kind of the operator for everything, if you will. We dispatch for any emergency services in the county. If it is an emergency service here in the county, we dispatch for them. Not unlike a lot of the other agencies around us. They may only dispatch for one agency, police, sheriff, fire department, EMS. We do it all. We have all encompassing. We have to work multiple systems, like what I showed you with our dispatch center looks like. We have multiple screens. We're able to pull up different things on each one of those screens and be working those all at the same time. We confirm warrants, we clear warrants. Any item that's stolen, anything that is reported stolen, runaways, missing people, if it goes into the state system, we do it. We enter it, we clear it, we do everything with that stuff. And we also must maintain our CPR, like I mentioned earlier, all of our TCOL, EMD certifications and all of that. So in 2021, we ended up doing 4,283 third-party checks on warrants. We completed 6,680 hours of front desk coverage. So after the front desk clerk leaves, we're the ones that answers the window and tells the people to turn around and go to the brown door at the other end of the hall to the jail, or fill out a walk-in sheet here, or whatever needs to be done. We entered 129,000 NCIC, TCIC entries. That's all of that entries that I was talking about. We provided 1,974 hours of on-the-job training for new hires. We also do storm troubleshooting, which believe it or not, is an everyday thing. Beam cell phones, anytime we have somebody that's missing, somebody that's endangered, anything like that, we ping a cell phone, get them, figure out where they're at. That's what we use to find people with. And pulling recordings from our NICE system. So in all, with all these extra duties, that's 9,486 hours that is spent a year doing these extra duties. In a 40-hour normal work week for 52 weeks a year, there's 2,080 hours, man-hours, to be worked. Just for these duties alone, it would take us 4.5 full-time people to do this by itself. All the while our dispatchers are doing all of this while they're doing their normal jobs also. So there's a lot of things when people talk about multitasking, being able to do multiple things at the same time. This job here takes that. It requires that type of stuff. So in this one, we're going to talk about some of our call volumes over the last several years. This is from 2018 up to current. As you can tell, in 2022, you know, we're not real high right now. That dark blue on the right-hand side, that is our total transmissions on the radios. That's basically how many times the radio gets keyed up. So right now, you can look at that and tell that we've almost done as many radio transmissions there as we did total calls in 2018. Our radio transmissions have gone up by almost 100% between 2018 to now. That is attributable to extra officers being on the street. Granbury Police Department they're putting 6 to 7 officers out every shift. That equates to more traffic stops, that equates to more people being arrested, everything that goes with that. So our numbers are just going up. The more population we have, the more that's going to go up. All right, so on this one we have our call radio times. So what this is showing is this has call and radio times on it. So our average answer time to answer a call, doesn't matter if it's 911 or admin, is 3.82 seconds. NENA and APCO allows 15 seconds to answer any call. We answered in 3.82 seconds. Our average processing time, which is how long it takes us to put the call card in and get the call dispatched, is 113 seconds. Our average time that we talk on the phone is about 110 seconds. And our average hold time is 2.78 seconds. We try our best not to put our callers on hold, but as calls increase, the longer and longer those times are going to become. Our average radio time per call, so each call that we receive, we either end up talking or listening to people on the radio for an average of 17.5 seconds for every call that we dispatch. And the radio talk time is also in addition to the normal man hours. So that's the radio talk time is not included in the normal man hours that we have. So these are our calls that are dispatched per station. Each year we basically have 3 stations. We have a fire EMS station, we have a PD, Granbury PD station, and we have what we call the county band, which covers sheriff's office, DPS, game wardens, BRA, anybody else that's law enforcement related are all on that band. So for 2018, on our fire EMS side, we dispatched 1,807, basically 19,000 calls. In 2021, we dispatched almost 20,000 calls for those two. Something I want to point out on that, unlike our law enforcement band, the fire and EMS, we can have upwards of 30 units responding to a single call. Grass fires, structure fires require multiple department response. We have multiple units. I know everybody heard about the big grass fire bonanza that we had several weeks back now. On that particular day, I believe we had, I want to say I added it up, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 units all combined on those three operations. That's a lot of traffic for one person to listen to, a lot of traffic, on top of taking calls and everything else. At the Sheriff's Department, in 2018, we did 28,000 calls. In 2021, we did almost 29,000. GPD in 2018, on the other hand, did 22,000, and in 2021, they did 28,000. So theirs has increased exponentially over the last several years. So on our training hours, we averaged between 2018 and 2021, we averaged 460 hours per trainee of on-the-job training. The total training hours that we have done is 13,804. Time that was spent on trainees that didn't stay was 1,841. And then the training that was spent on fully trained employees that made it through training but left later on was 1,346 hours. We split 3,940 TCOL hours into people that have left. So as you can see there, we spent $69,000 on people that are no longer here. They got trained and went elsewhere. Overall, between the money that we have lost in people that we trained, in trainers, and the TCOL training, we have spent $167,000 since 2018 on those people. And that does not include the drug test and psychological prior to. So this is just training right here. Our current average year's experience is 3.7 years. We have lost 37.8 years worth of experience on our people that have left. So on this one, this is showing what our retention and attrition rates are. As you can see on the first slide, it shows that we had 20 positions starting in 2018. We increased up to 22 positions as of this past budget. The blue line is showing you where we have hired people and where we have lost people. There's only been a couple of times there that we've actually been full, and it was for a very short period of time. Every time we hire somebody, somebody leaves. So far, it is taking us about 4 people. We have to hire 4 people to get one person trained all the way through. This job takes a specific kind of person. It's not something that somebody can just walk into and sit down and say, you know, hey, I can do this. I've had people that thought they could do that. They're not here anymore. They can't handle the multitasking, everything that goes with it. So currently, we have, I have 3 people that are putting in applications at other places that are trained. They're looking at going somewhere else. We just lost 3 others, which again, you can see where it dropped down. We lost 3 others, and right now I have 1 applicant that just finished her psychological Thursday of last week. So we're going to be processing her in. So I'm getting 1 person, but I'm 7 short. So right now we're working minimum staffing, which means we're working 3 people on the consoles. On all of that, one of the shifts is having to work with a trainee Granted, she is almost completely through her training, but she is still training on the last day that she's actually filling a spot because we don't have the people to cover it. So we're pushing these people through just as fast as we can. I only have one other trainee, and she's only on her second phase, so she's in her second month of being here. Hopefully in another 2 months, we'll have her up and going and actually doing stuff. The main reason why our people is leaving is they can make more money everywhere else. Unfortunately, that's the truth. That's what everybody is going through. Our overtime, as y'all know, we're the only department in the county that gets overtime. That helps to a point, but when you're having to pull people in and they have to work for 9-10 days straight, not only are they mentally exhausted, they're physically exhausted from the mental stress that they deal with every day on the job. So they don't have a life. Yeah, they're getting paid good money, but they don't have any time to spend it, do anything with their family, that kind of stuff. It burns people out really fast. This job will do that to you. So, right now, we have already spent this year alone $25,000, over $25,000 in our overtime budget. Right as of, I believe it was last court, Becky actually helped us move an additional $45,000 over into that line item, because if the overtime continues as it is right now, that's what it's going to take us to get through this year, the remainder of the year. All total, once that's said, it'll be $70,000 spent in overtime. So just some of the comparables that we have to some of the agencies around us, like I was talking about. A lot of people come in, they get trained, they want to go somewhere else because they make more money. They can drive up to Parker County, make a little over $21 an hour walking in the door. They don't even have to have experience for that. That's not a very far drive for somebody that lives in Hood County. As you can see, a lot of these others, are higher, lower. But our starting pay currently for our dispatchers is $15.63. And because you can tell there, it's lower than everybody else on there. If they don't want to go to Parker County, they can drive up to Arlington, not too terribly far, $23 an hour walking in the door all day long. If they don't want to go that far, they want to do something different, because Arlington actually does police, fire, and EMS, all three, like we do. But if they want to go to an agency and just dispatch for one, let's look at the Fort Worth Police Department. They start off at $25.09 an hour. All they dispatch is Fort Worth Police. It's a lot busier than we are, a lot higher call volume, but it's not that far of a drive, and it's not out of the reach for somebody to live here and drive there. And along with that, on here, I don't have North Richland Hills pay, but I have actually spoke to a dispatcher that works for North Richland Hills. She's been there a few years, and she asked me what we paid, and I told her. And she was like, gosh, she said, I'd love to work close to home. She said, I can't come over there for that money. She said, I'm making twice that over in North Richland Hills. So she drives from Granbury to North Richland Hills every day to work. The average pay between all these departments that you just saw up here, $21.37 an hour. That is the average pay for all of these locations. So on this one, we went and we actually did open records requests on all of some of the competitors around us, some of the counties, police agencies, whatnot. And what this shows you is the amount of calls versus how much they get paid. You can see that Arlington, their call volume is extremely high. They get paid pretty decent for doing that. Burleson, on the other hand, they have a very low call volume, but they have an extremely high pay. Then us, you can tell that our call volume is pretty well in line with a lot of those other agencies that are up there. but our pay is also lower than a lot of those other agencies. So this is where we're losing people to. Some jobs they can go to have a lower call volume, a lot easier, a lot less stress, but yet make good money doing it. So on the following graphs, I'm going to give a visual representation of what our recommended staffing level is according to NCT College. And we're projecting in here a 10% increase in call volume. It would not surprise me if we didn't see a 20% increase in call volume with the way that people are moving here and the amount of subdivisions that are going in this area. As all you all know, it is getting busier and busier. The more people here, the more we have, the busier we're going to be. So on this one, this graph shows that the staffing that we should have in the center here in each hour of the day is based on the amount of calls that we receive. And we try to maintain a service level of 99%, which means that 99% of the time, we are getting to the calls immediately and being able to get them help. That's what we want to be at. We have it at a 15-second answer time, which is the NENA APCO national standard. They want all calls answered within 15 seconds, like I told you earlier. We're a lot below that. We have some really good people that work really hard at keeping that number down so that our callers don't have to wait. And we process calls, we put in here 150 seconds as our target process time, which means takes us 2.5 minutes to gather the information, get it into a call card, get it dispatched. That's what these are based on. So as you can see here, majority of our time, we need a minimum of 4 people in that dispatch center. At night, it slows down a little bit. We can go down to 3. You see a couple of spots where it says 2. That's only for an hour at a time. Right now, between the hours of 2 and 6, we're working with 2 dispatchers, sometimes all the way up to 8. We have 2 dispatchers in there. Our call volume is getting too high to continue doing this. And we just don't have the people, the resources to do this. So on this graph, this is showing what our current service level is. Again, our service goal is with 3 dispatchers, 15-second answer time, 150-second call taking. We want the 99% average of our call, but on our current scale, there is several places on there where we drop down to 94% of our calls being answered quickly, which means we're having to put callers on hold or the phone is having to ring longer before we actually get to answer it. Higher call volume, it requires more people to actually complete that. So on this one, we're looking at what we're looking at if we continue with the 3 call takers, the 15-second target answer time, and 150-second call taker processing. And this was with just a 10% increase in call volume. If our calls right now increased by 10%, then there's points in time that we would drop to a 92% service level, which means 8% of our calls would not be answered in a timely manner. So this is the areas that you can see. I know some people probably saw on the news several months ago, Fort Worth Police Department was in a horrible position. They were having 911 calls come in. Calls are having to sit there 2 or 3 minutes. I've had dispatchers actually transfer calls there, set on hold, waiting for somebody to pick up for 2 to 3 minutes, just so they can let them know what's going on. Those are 911 calls. That's where we don't want to be. We don't want to be doing that. So this is part of the steps to alleviate not having to be in this position. So our proposed solution, as I've been talking about, we are one of the lowest paid in the area. We're proposing $20.63 an hour. This is going to increase the quality and quantity of our applications. I have multiple people that I've talked to that currently work at other agencies. Like, hey, if you get your pay up, I'll come work there. You're not going to come over there for that pay. Like I mentioned, there's one north of some hills. There's a couple in surrounding agencies that are the same way. Our proposal increases our telecommunicator pay based on experience and level of training. The people that are in these positions, they have a lot of training that they have to do, a lot of things that they have to keep up with in order to continue doing this job. If they don't do all that, they can't work in it. It's just plain and simple, cut and dry. It's going to increase our retention and experience of our telecommunicators. We have a great group of people that work over there right now. Great people. And they're willing to do anything to try to make this work, but people are getting burned out really fast. And again, the potential savings, like I said earlier, $167,000 is what we spent between 2018 and last year in people that came, got trained, and left. On the step plan that I have in your packets, what we have done is we've actually gone in and put each person into the step that they should be at, according to their years of experience, that kind of stuff. So that is how that is set up. This step plan has a 28-year step plan. Basically, every other year, everybody gets a 50-cent pay raise. Cost of living in between there to help maintain. At the 10-year mark, we have a longevity pay increase. That should help with our retention of people, give them a decent pay raise at 10 years. Just basically saying, hey, thank you for being here and doing your job. You know, these people are our biggest assets, and we need to be able to hold on to them instead of having to go somewhere else and be somebody else's assets. We would like to add eventually a call taker position to where it's just strictly nothing but call takers. That's something that we can look at later on down the line, but it is something that's going to come up that we're probably going to have to do eventually. So, and like I said, y'all have the Excel spreadsheets in there with the step plan, all of the information on it. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to, yes. Feel free to ask me, let me know, whatever. So does anybody have any questions on any of that?
John?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to clarify something. You have on your sheet that there's been no step raises given in 3 years. That's technically correct, but incorrect.
But it's, right, and that's what I brought up earlier.
Okay.
We have not had a step raise, but we have had cost of living raises. So that has been given to us, but like I was saying, we have telecommunicators that have experience that's been here for 3 years that will be making the exact same money. That's what I'm hiring brand new people in at.
Well, and that's because of the raise they got this year. Because there was a significant increase in starting pay for everyone in that type, all clerks, and the court approved that to try to get these people to over $15 an hour, and that's what was done this year. That's why they were the same, because there was such a big increase. And you know we're trying.
I know that everybody's trying, but what I'm pointing out is that people can walk down here to H-E-B and start a job for $15 an hour.
Absolutely.
Why do they want to sit in a dispatch center and listen to these calls and take things home with them that nobody should ever have to listen to. That is the difference. Our people are special people. It takes a special person. I can't stress that enough to do this job. This is a very time-consuming, very, very hard job to do. A lot of people, I've heard people say, recently, all y'all do is answer the phone and give the information to somebody else. No, we do not. We answer the phone. We give life-saving CPR instructions. We have multiple people that live because we gave them CPR instructions. You would be amazed at how many people we have that live because of this. We start CPR, even if it is a bystander. We talk that bystander through. And you're going to listen to an actual call here in a second that does that. People giving CPR, you'd be amazed at how many people live because of that. That's part of the training that my people have to go through. They have to have that training. The $15 an hour, yeah, it's nice. It is. It really is nice that we're up at that point. But it's not enough for where we need to be. What I'm asking for is not even at the average pay of the surrounding agencies. What I'm asking for is below the average. It puts us in the middle of, puts us in the ballgame. Gives us a chance to have people that want to come to work for us, that live here, that want to come over here and work. Gives us a chance of attracting those kind of people. And that's what we really need. So, any other questions?
And this isn't something that we just threw out there all of a sudden. Back when I was a fire marshal, before I was a sheriff, I came to the court, others court members, and said, we got to move forward. We need more dispatch consoles. So I was the one that came to Commissioner's Court and went down to Austin to ask for 6 total consoles because I knew that's where we were needed to be someday, way before now. So I've got the infrastructure there from the help from the COG to get us where we need to be. Now I just need the people to be able to be there and work it and save lives and do what needs to be done. Talked to John the other day about getting some recordings for you guys to hear, and we've had some bad stuff happen over the years. We had a dispatcher that was fairly new at the start that sits there and he talked to his wife and that her husband was trying to shoot him, blow his head off with a shotgun. And while he was on the phone, that happened. So he got to experience that whole thing. At least one of my deputies, they get dispatched to a call. It's get dispatched to a call so they can think about what are we going to do. Well, they go from 0 to 100 just that fast and have to get there and have to make sure that they document everything that's going on, get the ambulance involved, get the deputies involved, police department, fire department, whoever needs to go, they need to get them involved and get it done. And they do that. They've always done a great job. So, but we're overwhelming them with what they have. We just need to get some more people. I'm thankful that we get 20 people for a maximum and then 22 now. But if we can't fill those spots, then we got a big problem. So that's where we are now. So I thank John for getting the statistics together, and I'm glad he's got copies for everybody here to see where we've been and what the numbers are, so you don't forget it. You can always call and ask us, and we'll remind you, but please help us. It's not anything new. Like I said, I brought it up to courts many, many years ago about dispatching, and we need to get the spots in there and the equipment in there and get the people and the manpower to get it done. So,
Sheriff, how much does the city contribute?
A number of years ago, I don't remember what year it was.
2016. $135,000,
I believe is what it was.
146.
146. Yes, sir. 146,000 goes to paying direct to the county general fund. That's supposed to help me finance the dispatch. So, but you break that all down, that doesn't cover very far. Everybody forgets that. I think most people think 8 to 5 Monday through Friday is what we got to take care of, but no, this is 24/7, 7 days a week. That we got to keep things running. So, but that's what the city gives toward it. Their plan for the future of their new police department is to be able to start dispatching in the future and move forward like that. I'm right now the president of the 911 board of managers out of COG, and the chance of that happening isn't going to happen for many years. they could dispatch their PD officers, but to be able to accept their 911 calls, it'll be many years before they fit the qualifications of being able to get those transferred directly to them. So it's going to have to stay with the Hood County Sheriff's, or the Hood County for many years to come before that can evolve into that. So we're just trying to keep moving forward, keep moving ahead until people can try to pick up the slack like the city has thought about, but there's still going to be a ways before they can do it.
One of the things to add to that, Sheriff, I was looking at the actual contract with the city, and the one that we currently have expires in 2026. September 30th of 2026 is when that expires.
I'd like to listen to one of those calls.
All right, well,
We got plenty of them.
we're gonna play
An
it.
excellent job. We've talked about this.
Mhm.
I mean, for a while there, they had people coming from different departments that had to fill in. I know from the DA's office, Brandy Smith came in and she worked because we just didn't have enough people. She worked the whole weekend.
Right, we actually had, at that particular time, not only were we short 7 people, we had 6 people out sick. 6 people out sick. Was working with 2 dispatchers most of the time because we didn't have enough. Luckily, Brandy's done it before. She came over and did a great job for us. So that helped out a lot.
There's 2 of them that we've lost in the past. They were willing to come back and work part-time for us. So we can get it once in a while, not all the time.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right. So these following are actual 911 calls that we have received in our comm center here in Hood County. There can be some extremely upsetting and graphic information that you're going to be listening to. This is what my dispatchers listen to day in and day out. Personal information has been redacted. We've taken out names, addresses, et cetera. So you will hear some pauses in places. That's just where they were gathering that information. This first call that I'm going to have you listen to is, like I said a while ago, it's a 911 call. A gentleman called in because his wife had fainted. And so,
County 911, where's your emergency?
My wife just passed out on the kitchen floor, and I can't get her to come back to.
Hey, your name, sir? And is she still unconscious?
Yes.
Hold on 1 second for me. Are you right there with her?
Yes.
How old is she?
70.
Is she breathing?
She was. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Is her breathing completely normal? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Really shallow.
Okay. This is not delaying this at all, but I want you, we need to do a test on her, okay? I need you to get close enough to her. I want you to stay now every single time she takes a breath in, starting immediately.
I can't tell anymore.
Okay? Get close enough to her. Put your ear up to her mouth for me, okay?
Okay?
Can you hear her breath going in and out?
No.
Okay. Is her police available? Yes, they're coming, sir. Hang on just a second. They're coming. Okay. All right. Are you right by her now?
Yes.
Okay, I need you to listen carefully. Lay her flat on her back on the floor and remove any pillows.
Yeah, she is flat on the back on the floor right now. Yeah.
Okay?
No, Billy.
I need you to place the heel of your hand on the breastbone in the center of her chest, right between the nipples. I need you to put your other hand on top of that.
Okay.
I need you to pump the chest hard. Okay, go ahead.
What again?
Okay. Go ahead and lay your phone down. Pump the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second and 2 inches deep. I want you to let the chest come up all the way between pumps. We're going to do this 600 times until help can take over. I need you to count out loud so I can count with you.
Okay. I'll push down.
Okay, at least 2 inches deep.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This lady here, luckily, whenever the paramedics arrived, they were able to get her back. She lived. Dispatcher was talking a 70-year-old man through how to do CPR. It saves lives. It really does. That's part of the training that we go through. This next call that I'm going to let you listen to is a domestic disturbance. For those that don't know domestic disturbances, this is the most dangerous call that a law enforcement officer can respond to. It's also one of the longest calls that we will take because we stay on the phone with those callers until officers arrive. We want to make sure that we try to keep the parties separated. We want to know if there's weapons involved, if somebody has a gun. We need to know it because our deputies that are responding to that need to know that information. So that is what this call is going to be.
9:56 p.m. 47 seconds. I need the sheriff out here.
Okay, what's going on?
Because I'm in my car to keep away from my husband.
What's your name, man?
Yes. I had called on him before, and I just can't handle it.
And where is your car at? Is it just outside of the garage or?
Well, I'm in the garage trying to back out.
And what was your husband doing?
He was doing everything he can to incite anger in me so he could hit me, I guess. The last time I had to call the police, he told me he was going to kill me. Tonight, he was telling me he hates my guts, he can't stand to look at me, and he's doing all he can to irritate me.
Okay, and I told you he can't stand to look at you?
Yep. And he's drinking, and I've been on his case about a week to go to rehab, and he doesn't like it, and so this is how he's giving me this.
Are there any weapons in the house?
Oh, there's all kinds of weapons. I don't know any, but yeah. We have all kinds. We had pistols, we had shotguns, rifles.
Okay, were you able to leave the location?
No, I'm stuck here. Okay, why are you stuck? What is that? I'm getting out of here and I'm calling 911 on the phone right now because I'm not putting up with this. Well, you might want to leave and just be gone permanently.
If he's drinking, I like it. He's drinking, okay. If he's been drinking.
Yes, he has been drinking, but he drinks every night. So maybe I should leave the weekend here so you don't tell me what he'll do to start the house.
Okay, has anybody been, have you been assaulted?
No, I haven't. Not tonight, because I won't stop.
Okay, so where is he at?
I'm not back in town.
email me so you'll see it. Yes. What is your name?
He's got his hand behind his back like he's holding down. He's good.
That's the kind of call that my dispatchers have the possibility of answering every time they answer 911 or an emergency or an admin line. This is what they get to take home with them every time, every day when this stuff happens.
John, I assume while they're taking this in, they're also having to type this up
Correct.
to
Correct.
send
Yeah,
it
so-
to the deputy or.
So what happens on a call, like, or any call, it doesn't, not necessarily this one, but any call, we answer 911, we have headsets that connects us to the radio and the phone, both. While you're on the phone, you can talk to the officers through that same headset, entering stuff into CAD or computer-aided dispatch. If you're the one that's actually dispatching for that particular band, wherever it's at, they're sending officers at the same time because all this pops up on the officers' mobile units in their cars. And so we're able to type in notes, they're able to know what's going on as well as we're relaying that information to them as they go, especially where weapons are involved, stuff like that. So, yes, you are correct. Anybody have any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
It's pretty convincing data. It really is. I mean, we all had the same problem with the jails a few years ago. Y'all know we couldn't keep jailers up here for the same thing. They were going to other places, and we just bit the bullet. We found the money. We got them up where they're still not making what Johnson County was, but because of that, right, Eric? Saw you down here. You're fully staffed now, aren't you?
Believe it or not, Judge, we've actually taken some officers from Johnson County over to us. They've come to work for us, so.
That's what I'm saying. So this is just something that you had to bite the bullet. It was a painful deal, but we did it. And now it's something that you have to do. And I can see this. This is, like you said, this is what gets people their help. The first thing they're going to do is call 911. Without that, people are not going to get the help. Whether it's a fire, police, whatever happened on this deal, did the lady get shot? Was she
Yes.
shot? She died?
Yes.
She was killed? That's kind of tough to take it psychologically, and then you go home with it, they come back and tell you that she was dead. There's definitely some convincing evidence here for me, and it's something that we're going to have to pick up sooner than later. So I guess, we just have to protect our citizens. That's the first thing we have to do as a county, and this is where it begins, right here. So you are 7 dispatchers down.
7 people short right now, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
John, what's the difference on your step and grade plan between the COI and the TAC?
So the COI is actually our dispatchers,
Okay.
our line level dispatchers.
Okay,
The TAC is our terminal agency coordinator. That is, we only have one position there.
Okay.
The terminal agency coordinator is the one that takes care of all of the TCIC, NCIC validations in the state system. I want to say there's roughly 800 of those a month that she has to go through and make sure all the information is correct.
Okay.
She also takes care of all of our CGIS compliance and all of that as well.
Okay.
Okay. Good presentation. You did a great job. Thank you, Sheriff. You did also. Okay. Thank you. Next is development. We have Mr. Don Blue and Mr. Clint Head here. So if y'all flip, who's going to go first?
I went down and talked to the city about how they used to do it. It's going to require changing our rigs, like we'd already discussed before. We'll hold the plat, get the fee, but then we're going to have to come up with some kind of initial application or deposit to put up for the people that don't finish their plat, so we don't get stuck with their bill. So I'll get with the engineer on that part. So we'll come up with a fee that'll pretty much cover the initial bill. And work with the engineer about an application that will be within the guidelines of the law.
Well, you know, do you have what the fees are in surrounding counties like that? That's what I always like to do.
Engineering review, you can't, it's not a fee, it's hourly.
It's ours. Are we comparable to all the other, the Johnson, ERAD, Parker, or not? Do you know?
No, right now we're paying, for our final plat, it's $300 plus $10 or no, it's just $300 after the preliminary is approved, but like Vista Oaks, we paid out $7,000 to $10,000 on that on engineering review. So we're paying 80%.
What are the other counties doing?
A lot of them have an engineer on staff that are in-house or they're charging out, just like what I'm wanting to do. They're billing back.
You do have a recommendation that will eliminate?
Yeah, we're gonna try to fix it before we bill them back. It'll still have to be in my budget because I'll have to pay the invoice, but then we bill them back and it goes into general fund, I guess.
Now, you had mentioned something about doing like a deposit type of scenario. Is that something that you,
For the ones that don't-
seems like a good,
The deposit will have to be done for sure, so we don't get stuck with the ones that don't finish or the ones y'all turn down.
What is the deposit now? You said $300?
No, we'll have to come up with a number, probably $2,000, $3,000, because that's usually what the first review costs.
No. So we have regs that, what is the deposit that's required right now?
We don't have one. I might add it to it. And then we were talking about changing it to where we hold the plat and we do away with the performance bond. That way we make sure everything's constructed the way the plans were, and they don't get to record the plat until it's constructed. And if it's not constructed the way it was on the plans, then they have to pay for a re-engineering fee that was double or whatever we come up with, a re-review fee.
So this is whether it's an individual or a big development that's coming in.
Now, an individual is usually like a simple lot. There's no engineering review on a simple lot.
There's no engineering. So we're talking about
Infrastructure.
So it shouldn't be any problem about them being able to come up with a deposit, right?
The simple stuff we do in-house review, but it's the infrastructure and the drainage on the roads and stuff like that, we gotta have someone do the modeling.
and right now we're charging $300 flat rate for that, right?
Well, it's different. There's a price per lot, and then it goes up. If you have more than 20 lots, it goes up to $410 a lot, I believe. So that. And if there's floodplain, it goes up a little more, but if there's floodplain, we're not covering the cost.
You're way upside down.
So if it's a floodplain, it says you have to let them go ahead and do the engineering study themselves, right? And come back.
If it's a Zone A floodplain, they have to have an engineering study, but what we're charging is not going to cover the cost. Luckily, we haven't had anything yet. And we got a lot of Zone A floodplains.
Well, what you're gonna have to do then is is to get something and propose something
Right.
to the Commissioners Court. I think I'm very receptive to.
We're gonna update we call it the district map. At a city level, they call it a comprehensive plan, but our district map that we go by has not been updated since 2000, so we're gonna update that and try to get it on the GIS where everybody can pull it. Right now, it's just on my wall. There's not another copy on it, and everybody has to call me and ask me, what districts is under? There's been roads added. We gotta get with the city and get their comprehensive plan and overlay it. Y'all gave me permission to do that the last court in November, and we've been snowed under since, but last time gas prices hit like this, the real estate market slowed down quite a bit, so we need to get a break and we can get it done.
Well, the gas prices have definitely gone up, so anyway, we're good. What else do you have?
The residential district, which was defined in the 611 of the development regulations for the RV park, we pretty much concluded that that was copied from probably a city ordinance where they had zoning. We can't just remove it because it does refer to several other places that we do need. So I wrote a definition that's based off of the 6.5 of section 1. Basically a subdivision where we require fire protection, what we really consider a subdivision that's recorded under the same plat. And it wouldn't count for like somebody sold 2 acres to their cousin or whatever, so that wouldn't be considered a residential district. So we'll just add that definition when we amend their revenue order for the development regs.
Okay, and by doing this, we're gonna have to have we're gonna have to post it, have a public hearing on it, and then adopt a new order, am I correct?
I got a whole list of changes I've been making. We want to change we call it the cross-section profile of how the streets are gonna be done, so the shoulders and stuff. So when we get all that done, we'll come back and I'll ask y'all to have another workshop and make sure I get y'all's approval, especially on the district map. And then if y'all say okay, then I'll put it in the paper and then we'll take it to court and I'll write the order and we'll get it approved.
Is that, the residential district, is that definition?
There wasn't one for a county. I wrote.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, is it encompassing enough to do what we need to do? I mean, it seems like, well, a residential district will be defined as 5 homes on 5 acres, right?
Well, I was going to say require fire protection is described in section 1, 6.5B. That's what we really consider a subdivision because that's when we require fire protection under our regs. I mean, some of these older subdivisions we'd consider because they got infrastructure, like Oak Trail Shores, and they were done before our regs, but that's more than 1 acre. That's more than 5 acres, so. But anything new, I just figured that's basically what we use for 6.5B was the 5 acres or more, the five structures, or 1 residential structure per gross acre on 5. Basically, it's 1 per 5 acres, so it'd be 5 houses.
Okay, and I see what you're, yeah, so if it's 25 acres, it'd be 25 homes? Okay, all right, and that was.
When our development regs in the 6.5B, we require the pond after 5 structures or 5 lots.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Well, the older residential places that you said's already happened, are they gonna be grandfathered in?
No, that's why I defined it this way, because it's more than 5 acres and it was all recorded under the same plat.
And I don't know as though that changes anything with them, it just puts them inside a definition to, as a little protection.
Right. We're just defining what a residential district is because we had no definition.
Good. Good. That sounds fine to me. Something that needs to be done to keep up with what's going on.
Right.
We don't have any slaughterhouses here, do we?
Well, this all came kind of out of the same situation here it was even with the RV park the other day. that guy said something about putting a slaughterhouse over there. And, so we got to looking at what's required for a slaughterhouse. And there are different breakdowns for, well, I've got them pulled up right here. Oh, you got them? All right, go ahead.
For us to write an order like we do for the development bridge or the floodplain order, the flood damage protection order, you have to adopt the order separately for the slaughterhouse like we did the floodplain. Well, for us to adopt that order, there's certain things that the local government code requires, like it's got to meet a city or certain size and or adjoining a county of a population of 200,000. And I started to write the order until I seen that, and I was like, we don't adjoin a county that's got a population of 200,000. We join two that are over 150,000. We don't. So he was talking to, what's her name?
Shelby Lawson. So we could go to her and ask if they could put another bullet point into the legislation there that actually allows Hood County to come in and regulate slaughterhouses by, some mechanism. And my idea was, okay, we don't border a county that's 200,000, so can you do two counties with at least 150,000? Because that would put us in.
Basically, when you adopt that order, it gives the Commissioners Court the right to prohibit the operation of a slaughterhouse within 1,000 foot of a school or a residence at either the location the Commissioners Court finds business incompatible with. The way it is right now, they're regulated by TCQ, and there's nothing that sets out where they can be, kind of like the deal y'all were talking about the landfill that we need to do.
1,000 feet from a slaughterhouse.
I wouldn't want to blend a little next to my house.
Well,
Yeah, that was kind of what brought that up, is that can be.
but when you said any other deal, so since it has 1,000 feet of a residence, if there's a resident within 1,000 feet, the way you read that, I haven't looked at it, can we put another restriction on it?
It says may prohibit, and then it says or at any other location if the Commissioners Court finds that for the operation of the slaughter's business is incompatible with the existing land use of the neighboring area or would impose an undue hardship on the persons residing or trading in the neighboring area. So, yeah, it's up to y'all.
Well, right now, we can't even impose 1,000 foot from a school or a church because we're not into that bracket.
That would fall back on the TCEQ or whoever and the AGs for permitting.
There are a lot of regs.
You're not gonna meet for another year though.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, but that was,
Right,
For the slaughterhouse.
yes,
Lots of them.
yes, that they would regulate it, and if the waste produced is considered industrial strength waste, and they would have to have a plan and present it to TCQ, and TCQ accept that plan. ABF Packing out of between Steamville and Dublin have lined lagoons that are aerated. There's a small slaughterhouse that just opened in Iredale. It's not 1,000 foot from probably the closest residence. Those lagoons are aerated also. There's bugs they put in the lagoons. And it will be used for irrigation. The irrigation setback is 150 foot from a state highway. I'm presuming in this, we would need to see the distance from a county road also, because you don't want that stuff spraying on a county road in the spills and the accidents.
Back to number 2, when we update that map, I know all y'all talked about it, y'all came back from class after last year. Y'all want to get together before we finalize that map and vote on it and designate a landfill area?
Yep.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we had.
Figure out what code we need to adopt into the regs.
Exactly.
We need to add that code to the regs to be able to do that. I just need to know which one it is. I don't know which.
Got Mr. Mills over there, he needs something else to do up there.
I'll find it.
You find it? Okay. God. That's what with the growth, you know, okay. Anything else you want to add?
I just wanted to see if y'all wanted to put the landfill on that comprehensive map.
I guess we do. Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it. That's for sure.
That's
kind
why we're
of-
doing a map,
that's
get it
kind of-
updated with all the
Yeah.
information we need.
We'll get the map to the spot and then we'll come back and see where y'all want to put it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Stacks, looks like you're up next. Yeah, you in the red.
Okay, so getting some of these properties cleaned up in a timely manner is not working.
Yeah,
I have cases right now that have been set to be scheduled that the violations were found in 2019. They are still not ruled on. Those are some of the more,
Have those been filed in the JP court already?
no, those are not. Those two, there's two that are, one is real bad.
One of them we can't find the owner.
That's the, we can't find the owner. And I believe,
Matt couldn't find him.
he couldn't find him. He had him as a witness or something for
Yeah,
a case.
he was
He
listed as a
couldn't find
victim
him.
in a criminal case, and we were trying to call him, he was a theft alleged, and we couldn't find him. We tried all kinds of things, letters, phone calls, emails, whatever.
Why don't we send him a letter telling him that he's won TV? Our new TV, can we do that? I mean.
Need to know where to send a letter.
But put it, we need to have somebody go out and just tell his closest neighbor out here that he's won a TV that Dave Eagle has given him.
Yeah.
Within about
I believe
the
you could.
25,000 person that come in and order a pizza.
Right.
He needs to come up there and pick it up.
Yeah.
So,
Jeannie, do you want to recap, and you weren't, I guess it was McCausland was still here, but the whole thing we went through 4 years ago with abatements, I mean, nobody, I don't think today was on the court when we had that, got shot down. But,
no, I remember that.
I remember it.
okay.
Yeah, I remember.
We were listening.
Well, one of the things I think that would probably be beneficial for the courts, lawyers, JPs, even the sheriff's office, would be to have the Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center come to a class. It tells you a lot of how to handle the stuff. It talks about the abatement process, talks about illegal burning and the ways to enforce all of the illegal burning for the farm marshal and stuff, which is some of the stuff that we've been having now. It is an 8-hour class. He would charge a fee, but if we could get an idea of how many we had, we could probably get a set rate to have him here. Any TCLO holding up person that attended would get hours, as well as I would get hours for 2 of my licenses. And it would, I think, help my office with the staff I have now. None of them have been through any of these classes. They all have the newer books. This is a 2010 version, but they have the newer versions of where I've attended the classes. The Brazos River Authority held the last one that was here, and it was probably 4 years ago that I'm aware of.
Are there various enforcement agencies, like you got the fire department or the fire marshals on one, the sheriff's on the other, the BRA, the TCEQ? Is that the various? When you talk about that book, there's different enforcement agencies that can actually do something if there are violations?
Yes, actually, I was reading the other day because we have been having some issues with filling drainage areas. And if it is anything that is a waterway of the state, the game warden can actually enforce it. You just have to get him the code, and I do have a list of the codes for the game warden. And I know Judge Gwynn's seen that because she has it. But it allows us to enforce, and the game warden can actually issue a citation on site. And as well as a peace officer.
Okay, we got that going. So we issue a citation, and where they're supposed to go is the first place to a JP court?
Yes.
Okay, they come to the JP court, most of them are not gonna show up, so they're gonna default. So what are y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna enter a, finding of guilty or? So
Well, not, I mean, you know, first of all, they don't show up, Ron. So you have to have a show cause hearing because they didn't show up. And then once you have the show cause hearing and they don't show up, then you can issue a warrant.
And then,
But that warrant may sit out there forever.
Like with the guy that we can't find.
And the warrants for a process, not for his issue, for not showing up.
No.
So that's a whole different.
No, it's for the citation. It's not for failure to appear. It's for the original citation.
okay, so, all right, if you find it,
Okay.
you know, I think at one time I was talking to Chad Jordan about this. So let's say that, you know, we pay somebody to go out there and have some overtime or something. If we have, how many unexecuted warrants do we have in
Oh
this
my
county?
God.
A million?
Not a million, but.
Yeah, probably 50,000 total on all the courts.
See, that's what, when he told me that, that just blew my mind on the deal.
You know,
Well, some of them go back all the way to, you know, when Judge
Moses.
Watson and Judge Wilson were in, you know, I mean, so
Well,
they're in the 90s.
Well, there's some of them that you need to weed out, but, you know, we need to have some sort of a committee just to clean up the stuff, you know? I mean,
So if I clean
is
up
there
my
a statute of limitation
Well,
on
yours have only
stuff
been
like
out there
this?
since 2006.
If I go back to my oldest warrants, the ones they want to clean out going back 10 years or farther, that's $75,000 in warrants. I mean, it's substantial money that's out there. We now got the scoff law, I mean, which we just started last month. That's going to help bring in some people for registration when they come over and get registration. But yeah, there's a lot of old ones out there, but
I just went
we
and cleaned
clean them
mine
out.
I cleaned mine out and did anything that was older than 10 years, I cleaned out.
Exactly.
Because there was, you know, so many of them, probably at least 50 to 75% were for a no driver's license. We have nothing to go after.
Or juveniles.
So.
There's, I mean, you know, the process is insane because you have the show cause hearing. They don't show up. You issue the warrant. Okay. Finally, they roll a stop sign. So now they're arrested. So you've got them down there in the morning. Okay. Well, Texas doesn't have paupers prison, so you have to tell them go see the judge and turn them loose. And tell them to go see the judge. Well, then they don't show up. So then you have to have another show cause because they didn't show up again. Issue another warrant. Then they finally get arrested on that one.
But what we're talking about is unsanitary properties. If we only deal with that, not violations of speeding.
Well, but it's the same process, Ron.
It may be the same process.
But we've still got unsanitary properties. All we're asking for, what do we do about it? We can find the people, we can take them to court, but the property's still unsanitary.
Yeah.
So what's the next step?
They don't have the money to you know, take care of it.
Can we
lien
condemn the property? Turn the water and electricity off and condemn it? Now let them live there. I'm just asking.
Sorry, bring me some stuff on the next item. What was the question?
You got an abatement question.
Okay, yeah, I got my butt handed to me 4 years ago by the Commissioner's Court. And,
Didn't get anywhere.
I had a motion by Commissioner Berry and it did not get a second. And then they brought it back to court again and it still got a motion from Steve Berry, no second, so I lost twice. But I was trying to get an abatement and I did quite a bit of research back then. I drafted a proposed, I thought it would be helpful to actually clean up messes. And, you know, there were concerns about private property and citizen rights.
And who does it? Who cleans it up?
I mean, there's
the sheriff's department, who cleans it up, and who's liable to go onto private property?
Right.
Who went down all this road and beat it up and didn't get anywhere?
Right, exactly. I mean, the thing that started for me, I went to an HOA meeting, Rolling Hills Shores.
Yes.
And I walk in not knowing anybody or anything, and they say, what can you do to clean up an environmental problem? And I said, well, there's a process where you can potentially even get an injunction in court. And they said, we've already done that. I said, you can throw somebody in jail. We've already done that. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care. Straight up doesn't care. And so you can throw him in jail for 6 months. It sits there. He gets back out. It still sits there. This was like a 1 acre I mean, it was a big piece of property out there. And it was just a total wreck. And it just sat there for years and years and years. And then there was another one on, I think it was North Fork Road, Precinct 4, where there was a fire, the trailer burned. Nobody's living there. Nobody wants to, you know, no family member cares to get involved in the probate, whatever. I mean, it's just sitting. And there's nobody there. And never going to be anybody there. And you can't clean it up. And it just sits. So...
Who's paying the taxes on this, so doesn't it eventually?
Well, yeah, okay, good question. Linebarger, generally, they don't care. I mean, they're in a private business, and if you have some mobile home that's burned out and the appraised value is hardly anything, they're going to go 5 years, 6 years, 7 years sometimes before they'll file for the taxes.
No, but that's not correct. I've talked to Linebarger about that because that came up at one day. Who does it? It's the appraisal district that has the agreement on the contract with Linebarger.
Mm-hmm.
That's Linebarger is the attorney for the appraisal district. The appraisal district decides who Linebarger is to sue.
Okay.
So we need to go back and talk to the appraisal district about it. And those pieces of property like that, you know, I don't know where the property is or whatever, but with the valuations going up so hard, sell it and get somebody to come in there with the dozer and scrape it. And then you never know what's going to happen. But that's the deal. It's the Central Appraisal District that tells Linebarger which properties to foreclose on. It's not Linebarger that does it. Linebarger is just the attorney who takes its direction from, and as I understand it, it's one person in there. It's not the board, but it's a clerk or somebody that has the proper credentials to do that, because none of the appraisers do. That was what we talked, isn't it? What we said. So that's, I think, where we need to go. If you have some ultimate solution, I agree with you. On these driver's license, juveniles and stuff like that, I agree with you that it just needs to be getting away with. But if you have some property out there, it seems to be that you can draft something. And let me tell you this, I'm for not letting any taxing authority take away any property. But there's got to be a situation sometimes, like eminent domain, where if you can have that great burden to show that you meet, that it's in the public good, and I think that nobody around, if you had something that was just a slime pit on property next that was an endanger to the community and, you know, infection and everything else, to sell it, somebody would buy it, I would think. That's the deal. But it's the appraisal district that we have to go to. So that's what we need to do. Don't y'all think? Is to say about that? How many of these warrants involves some sort of environmental deal on property? That's where we can go through. If we can have that, you can sell something. But coming about for somebody that's got a 10-year-old failure to have a driver's license, I ain't going to do anything.
I would have no idea how many environmental tickets are out there. I know I've got some.
It's very few.
Can you condemn the property and let nobody on it?
We can't.
We can sell it. I mean,
We have to go
if there's a condemnation on that property, certainly nobody is paying any taxes on it. And I agree with Mr. Mills, there's probably such a low valuation on the property that the Central Appraisal District doesn't care. We need to go to them and find out, if you got these properties up here, let's bundle them up and sell them. I mean, the last few times I know, because those sales occur in the historic courthouse, and that second floor courthouse is full of buyers.
I'm all for it, but there's no mechanism for us to do that.
Well, I think the mechanism is for us to go, Mr. Mills, and talk to the Central Appraisal District and just tell them that Lineberger works for y'all. Let's have a list of all these properties down here. I think it starts with I know if you could give us the environmental citations that you have, is start from that, take that to the appraisal district and says, look at and see if any taxes have been paid on these properties, and if they haven't, have Lineberger sue on them and condemn them, somebody will buy it.
But I think too, environmental health could step up and go ahead and file in the JP courts with them. Because that could start the process probably going more.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to give them a 30-day notice, and then as soon as that 30 days is up, turn it over to y'all.
Right.
And then at that time, we can see what the taxes are owed on it and.
That's it. And then just tell the Central Appraisal District, we want them to instruct Lineberger to post it for foreclosure.
And y'all are right to start, because we have to have the trail. We have to have the trail of evidence and all. You know, I had one time, and just as an example, the homeowners association came and they wanted to clean the lot up, so the guy's in prison. But their solution was, well, his brother said that we could sell all the stuff off of there to pay for cleaning the lot up. So they came in the first place. I didn't have any power to do it, but the other thing is, I said, his brother can't say, that's his stuff. That's not his brother's stuff. You can't go out there and take the guy's stuff. You know, I mean, I'm sympathetic to you, but those are the things but if, like y'all are talking about, if we start a trail of evidence, yes, we did this, then we did this, then we did that, and it went over there.
I'm not sure you can get into all that. I mean, the foreclosure issue is strictly not paying taxes. That's your remedy. You start getting into some of this other, where's the statutory authority for that? To take somebody's property?
I guess what I would say, Dave, is there's probably some out there that nobody knows nobody's taken the time to find out anything about that piece of property.
You can adopt a salvage yard order and you can abate the property and take everything off of it and sell it, but.
See, that's a big problem in the county. We've got multiple places where you have large volumes of vehicles, abandoned vehicles, or just parked vehicles. I know of one location, there's at least 75 vehicles on 2 lots.
It's not taking the property, it's abating. You just
they haven't been moved in years, literally.
Somebody own?
People living there in both the houses, but, around those 2 houses, there's at least 75 vehicles just abandoned on the property.
I mean, guys, there's a place across the road from my house, and there must be 5 old trailer houses there, and there ain't been nobody there since the Mayflower come over. So.
Right.
Every now and then a car will show up, so I guess somebody's over there salvaging stuff out of there. But But
They're cooking meth right next to you.
no, they don't spend that much time there. But, so, I'm all for it because there ain't no telling what's living in that thing over there.
We gotta start someplace to see if there is some sort of remedy like that, to see if we can do it. That's what I'm saying. It seems to be that is an offense against the property where the property doesn't meet a certain standard. And if it is, or isn't.
What's the condemnation requirements? I mean,
It's like imminent domain, like I said.
It might be junk, but it might be this guy's treasure. You can't go around and tell them that's junk.
No, but the land itself.
Environmental, we can, as a county, and should, if it continues to be an environmental issue, then it's just not involved with that property. It's the public, because it's an environmental issue. If we stuck to that, and somewhere how to figure that out, we at least have a track to go after, not because the guy's got 10 vehicles. Maybe they're not hurting anything. It's his property.
Also, you have those lots that have, 4 or 5 RVs on them. Nobody, sometimes a lot of people are living in them, but where's the septic going?
That's
There are no septics.
Environmental
Except any of them.
But I mean,
Where's that going?
we can go for an injunction. I mean, we have an injunction on a property now. That property has been bad since 2011. They were fined in JP court.
We told Jeannie to shut the water off at that place, and they said they bring in 50-gallon drums of water.
Yeah.
So you can shut the water off, and then they'll still figure out some way to bring in water. So that doesn't stop it.
No.
So, I mean, and we have a failed one right now in Precinct 3 in Port Ridgely East. The development regs state that they cannot put another septic back. It's going into the lake at this point.
Good.
And
they're required to hook up.
He's been fined and came and paid the fine.
no, not this one. This is a new. This one is a new one. We got.
This one we're doing emergency
We
injunction.
used Chapter 290 of the Texas Health and Safety Code. Had the water turned off. 2 weeks later, the water's right back running again.
That was what, Friday they turned the water back on?
Well, it was on. It was running it down the ditch Friday.
How did they get the water turned on?
Well, that water at that meter is spinning. I don't know how the people are going to afford the water bill when they get it.
They're not gonna pay. Property, and the property owner.
Property owners supposedly called the water company to also have the water turned off, and it's back on.
People will work harder to break the law than they will to fix what it is to make it law.
That's what's happened. He is somehow a master plumber, figuring out how to get the water.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, one of the things in talking, is there anything that we can do to help you guys? The vouchers for the collection station, would that be beneficial to you guys if somebody came in?
We offer those now. We'll give those.
Yeah, but how do you pick and choose who gets those? Are you giving them to anyone out there?
Anybody that asks.
Anyone that asks, that comes and says, hey, I have no place to put this trash.
Well, okay, so if, this is a hypothetical question, Judge. If I send somebody to court and they say they can't pay,
okay,
they can't clean it up and they can't pay, are you just going to dismiss it? I'm asking.
No, we'll put them on a payment plan and work with them on payments, but that's the only thing.
Okay. Is there a way that we could bring it to court to say they can't afford to pay the fine, but if they can produce receipts from the Citizens Collection Station, could that go toward their fine? I'm just asking what the court thinks
I
on
would
that.
allow that, definitely.
Because our goal is to get it cleaned up. It's not to fine these people.
Right.
But then the next time it happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
They can do that.
And, and that'll work to a point, but what do you, okay, and so this is the hard one. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the vouchers. Clean that place up. You know, it's just like dog tickets. I don't want to fine you for your dog not being vaccinated. Just go get the dog vaccinated and bring me a thing that says the dog's vaccinated. You know, the point is compliance, not punitive damage. But what are you gonna, this is where I'm going with this. I mean, is there a step further that we can take, not to take the guy's place, but what are we gonna do with the 80-year-old guy that owns that place? And yes, he's got 40 years of accumulated mess around there, 14 old sofas and all of that. We give him a voucher to take it, and it can go to the collection center. All of that stuff's legal. It can go there. But that 80-year-old guy that's got one prosthesis, he can't clean that up. So now, I mean, and I know that it's not our responsibility, but I'm just asking, do we think there's something we can do there? Because that's the condition of a lot of them places. That's what's going on.
A lot of it is not collectibles that can even go to the collection site. It's household trash.
And yes, there's a lot of that is
that's
true.
the big part of it, is household trash, where they just put it in a plastic bag and set it outside and let it do whatever. It's not collectibles that's worth anything to people. I mean, even to take it to the collection site, it's not cans. It's there may be a bag of cans there, but and maybe some glass, but it's mostly household trash.
Yes, I mean, and that's true, Kathy. A lot of them.
Again, is it an environmental health issue? That's what we're gonna stick to.
It is, but what are you gonna do with it? It can't be taken to the collection site.
But we have an environmental issue. That's the one we need to solve.
Right.
I'm not saying I got the answer, but we need to solve that. What are we gonna do about the environment?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there something that we can do to facilitate that?
I mean,
Can't we?
is it possible to pay for a couple of dumpsters and we can say to them, this is where you need to take the trash? This is where, either give them the vouchers. If it's something that they can be taken to the collection site, then they take it there. But could there be a dumpster out there to where it is household trash and they can take it there? If they're, if they've been to the JP court with theirs.
When you open the door for that, though, you open the door for everybody to take their trash in?
Right. Well, and it is.
And you're gonna hear, where's my dumpster?
Right.
Right?
Well, all right.
Matt, did you
That's
get
okay,
anywhere with
I
it?
got
Last time we
there
did this,
anyway.
did you get anywhere with it at all?
No, I can't. Oh, go ahead.
Glen Rose,
That's what I was just gonna say. If you check with your counterparts in
Glen
other
Rose
counties,
takes household trash. $1 a bag for residents, $2 a bag for non-residents.
Public properties we go to.
Now, I can't keep the dumpsters moved out there as it is. Let that stuff sit there for 3 or 4 days when it's 110, and it's not gonna be pretty.
No. Well.
Yeah,
and you know what?
right next door. Yeah, thank you.
But
Environmental issue, it's your dump, it's your.
I'm signing up for it because mine's $40 a month, and you know how many bags of trash my husband and I do? It's 4 bags of trash a month, because everything else we send to the collection site.
Now, you have it.
So, there you go, everybody will be going out there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in that instance, you could put another packer there that's going to make it hold more, but it's still not going to make it. It's still going to.
I don't think we want. This is just my opinion. I don't think we want to open our, but Kevin brought up vouchers. Okay, I mean, Becky ain't here to tell us where the money is, but can we send them down there? Or can they do a one-time thing? Okay, the guy that's got, let's see, where was that one? Okay, I'll just give it. So I went to the one, and it is this high. all the way through the house. The only thing there was a trail back there to the bathroom where the lady was. We had to put her in the bag to get her out of there because the cot wouldn't go through that house. Okay, and there's a lot like that in there, Okay, so now you got, so say this, I know I'm going a long ways, guys, but, so say these people, they don't have nobody, you know, their Aunt Tilly's 107 and she's the only surviving relative. Okay, that's gotta get cleaned up. It can't just sit there, okay? So can we, is there a mechanism that, okay, this one time, we're calling bin sanitary pickup people and
Put the dumpster there.
clean it up, and the way they haul it to wherever they haul stuff.
Well, in your scenario, the homeowner signs off on that, right?
Okay, well, okay, but,
Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure this out, because, I mean, if you have the deceased homeowner and there is no person with legal title or ownership to the property, who's giving you permission to go on the property? And that's where we had the abatement thing and got shut down.
Okay, so how about him, let's go back to the 70-year-old guy with the prosthesis.
Okay,
I like him
right,
too.
yeah.
Okay, so he can't haul that stuff down there.
Right.
Or to Glen Rose. Can we put a mechanism in place where we're going to give you this one shot. We're going to take care of this time. We're going to get all of this stuff out of there so that the problem is gone right now. Okay? Now you're going to have to hire Ben, the sanitary guy, to come and pick up your trash. Hopefully. Live in this planet with me for one time, Kathy.
Here's the deal. Maybe, Mission Granbury, for instance, can do a lot of different things. I mean, they have paid for babysitters so somebody can make a job to do this. They can pay for plumbing for somebody's house that's inhabitable. They have a lot of different things. I mean, and they got some art money that they can do. Maybe we could go and talk to Dusty about this problem. It is a health problem. It does benefit the community. Maybe she has money, or maybe some additional monies can go to her and let her, they can hire somebody. She may be watching this. I hope she's not. But, and let her do it through something, rather than the county exposing themselves and they could work it. I don't know. But like I said, I want to do something that has an enforcement, that there is finally something kind of solution to it, that it doesn't just stop and say, we've done our best, can't do that anymore. It's reached the point.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. It needs cleaned up, and if it comes to it, yes, take it. But in the end, even if we condemn the property and take it, then we're still going to have to clean it up.
No, you sell it as is, and the new owner will clean it up.
There's a big wall we're hitting, especially here lately. A lot of these problems we're running into are squatters.
Yeah.
So we're going after a property owner that had nothing to do with it.
Well, I guess he's going to eventually adverse possess it, but no, he's never going to pay any taxes. So he's never going to get any, I don't know, but I think what we need to start with is to see if there's any delinquent taxes that's on the property that we can sell the properties. Because there will be somebody that will buy it and that can see something to it that will sell it off. That's, to me, that is something that's legal. People are looking for places to do. Maybe somebody from the city that's trying to get out of it will go back there and clean the place up and get a permit and put a mobile home on it that's decent that they can live in. It's got to have some value.
Granbury, you think they still do that?
Do what?
Remember the little Granbury thing that all the churches got together and did, where they were going to clean it
It's no longer in existence.
Well, let's stay on one thing. I mean, can't you call and talk to the appraisal district and see about
Well,
that?
okay, let me address three quick things. First of all, not always, but sometimes the people actually do pay their taxes. I think the Rolling Hills Shores example, I said, well, surely this guy hadn't paid his taxes. Well, he had paid his taxes. Well, now you're stuck. He's just accumulating trash, paying his taxes. You can't do anything about it. That's the first thing. Same thing, Commissioner's Court approves a contract with Linebarger. I don't know how long I was sitting in the room when it happened. One of y'all was on the committee to evaluate the collections, because this is when Teresa McCoy was doing she wanted to take over the property tax collection. And yeah, it was before y'all, but it was not ancient history. I mean, this is 2018 or 17, one of those 2 years. And I was crazy enough to put in a bid for our office to do it, which is legal, and that's what Travis County does. Their county attorney's office does delinquent collections. So I was one of the bidders, Linebarger, and there was another collections agent, and the Commissioner's Court voted for Linebarger in 2018, I believe it was, or 17.
I don't believe that's correct.
I was in the meeting.
Well, that's going to be easy to verify, isn't it?
You bet.
Because it came up, the question came up, and I haven't seen the contract, but I haven't signed anything either. And we're going to find out who Linebarger works for, whether Linebarger's a client of the county or if Linebarger is a client of the appraisal district.
Okay.
That's easy to verify.
Sure, and one other thing, I do at times email Linebarger. They've got a rep, and so somebody from their office tells me, hey, terrible situation out in whatever. We check the records. They haven't paid taxes in 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And I send a message and I say, hey, can you hump it on this one? And they say, okay. One last thing is,
that's because
our remedy, if you adopted the thing that I was proposing 4 years ago, we're not taking anybody's property. We're simply abating the nuisance and then putting a lien on the property for our costs in the cleanup. And there are ample mechanisms in place to protect somebody from overreach. I mean, there's hearings and all kinds of stuff that they have, which I thought was enough protection, but it just scared off 4 out of 5 members of the Commissioner's Court. So anyway, but yeah, I very distinctly remember the vote on Linebarger, because was one of y'all on, there was a committee that they had appointed, and I could swear one of the JPs was on the committee.
If you contacted Linebarger, what Linebarger probably did is call the appraisal district and says, the county attorney has contacted me about this particular problem. We want to do that, and then they okay for Linebarger to initiate foreclosure proceedings. Linebarger themselves told me that they are the attorney for the appraisal district and not for the county. But okay, that's easy to verify.
Wait, I think now that I'm thinking about it, okay, here's what the deal was that I remember about the vote. Sorry. I think we're both maybe right or both wrong, but the deal was when Teresa McCoy took over the property taxes, then we were collecting property taxes, right? It wasn't the appraisal district collecting. And I think that was what the vote was. So the Commissioner's Court voted to go with Linebarger because they weren't even in the business of collecting taxes at that point, the appraisal district.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we had to have our own, and then that's when I put in the bid for it. So I think, anyway, that's what happened.
But when Teresa McCoy got out of it,
I think that's probably right.
Yeah, then the Central Appraisal District got involved.
Okay, yeah. I think that's right. Okay, so sorry but.
Accept your apology.
Well, I mean, the Commissioner's Court did vote to hire Linebarger. I do remember that. So that did happen. Yeah.
We're Teresa McCoy, not for this court.
Right.
Not for this court.
Anyway, that's that.
Yeah, we get rid of that.
Okay. Well, I think we need to try to do something. I mean, we need to really see, it may not be in every case, but if there's some properties out there where the taxes haven't been paid, what we do want to do is foreclose on them, because those properties will sell right now. They may not have sold 8 years ago or something, but they're selling everything. And Chad Jordan is telling me that they're bringing phenomenal prices on stuff that people think that they wouldn't bring that kind of money. So let's get rid of those that we can get rid of, bring out some money. Then we may have some other money that we can use then to, like we said, pay for some vouchers to do it. Or, I don't know.
I mean, back to Kevin's original question, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm sure all of us are. We're all for giving these people the ability to clean that thing up if they'll get out there and put their gloves on and clean it up. You know, if it can be taken to the collection center, yeah, but if it can't be, then, you know, it's gonna have to go to Glenrose or something like that, so, or you know, Ben's trash service, but is there a way of giving them a voucher to do that? I guess that's what I'm asking y'all. It's, you know, and you know, we can do that in lieu of the fine.
Well, what you're saying is, instead of the vouchers, can we give it to the landowner that's so negligent that won't even haul off his own trash? Can we trust him to take that money and pay a third party to come move his trash? Or is he going to take his money and do that? I think that maybe we go through some organization. It doesn't have to necessarily be Mission Granbury, but somebody that they do everything else. They have fixed plumbing, I know, in houses where there wasn't done.
Well,
and maybe they could come up with some solution that they could come down there.
And, you know, Jeannie has brought, I'm sorry, Kathy, I'm talking over. You know, Jeannie has brought me, I mean, you know, again, I got the old man, but I mean, you know, he did get his nephew to clean part of it up, and they brought me pictures 30 days later, and half of it was gone, you know, and then 30 days later, the rest of it was gone, you know, so he did eventually get it cleaned up, and so, you know, then it was not, I didn't dismiss the case, but I gave him the thing and it was inability to pay. So yes, he had a conviction for this trash that was on his place, the citation that was written by environmental, and he had a conviction on that, but he didn't have to pay the fine because he had cleaned it up and he didn't have any money. So.
And another thing, this is, you keep saying, well, let someone else help them clean it up. By the time we get called, most of these people have already exhausted all of Mission Granbury's funds. Because I was having an issue with a young, well, it was an 18-month-old child, and I was hoping that Mission Granbury could help get these people out of the situation they were in. Only to have Mission Granbury tell me these people were frequent flyers and they had exhausted all avenues that they could to help them. So in this instance, you know, when y'all go to, you know, say, oh, well, you know, see if Mission Granbury can help, a lot of times they've already done everything. And I mean, I know
a church group or anything like that to help is you've got hazardous waste out there because there are snakes, there are mice, rats. I mean, because the stuff has been out there. Yeah, feces, yeah. I mean, it's because it is. I mean, some of it is just, when you have to put on booties to walk through a house because it is so disgusting, I mean.
Yeah, or you can't get through the house.
Yeah, that's why I carry boots with me.
And the Vicks and the mask don't help.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
There's not one solution.
No.
Everything we discussed, I mean, you know,
well, this has got to be a problem, and all the other surrounding counties. I guess I'm gonna call the county judges and all the other departments, says, what do you do with this problem? Do y'all have a solution to it?
Well, I think eventually you can get, you know, just by doing the taxes, you can handle some of them. You're never going to totally.
Well, that's right. You can't legislate hygiene to people. You can't legislate lifestyles to people. There's some people
Exactly.
like living like that. So,
But if we start with, with some of that, then if you'll file and we'll start handling, those and go from there, that might take care of some of them, a few.
And your property in Rolling Hill Shores is cleaned up.
All right.
You can see the ground.
4 years.
Well, I just thought I would throw that out there.
There you go. One down.
Way down.
If anybody would like to adjourn, if nothing else, let's adjourn on a high note. That there was some success.
That's right.
There you go.
Okay? Thank you very much.